Hi, everyone. It's Alex Savidge from KTVU, Fox 2 News here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And of course, with these massive fires that are burning around the Bay Area and California right now, we are left with a whole lot of smoke in the air and very unhealthy air quality, especially here in the Bay Area. Joining us now to talk more about this is Dr. Malika Stoll, Senior Medical Director with Blue Shield of California. Dr. Stoll, it's really good to have you on here. Obviously, all of us, you and I, notice it. The moment you step out of the door, you can feel the smoke in the back of your throat. A lot of people feel it in their eyes. How unhealthy and how dangerous is the smoke that is in the air right now?
Yeah, good morning. The smoke can be really dangerous, particularly for those who have underlying lung conditions and other health issues such as asthma. But even for the rest of us who feel that we have healthy lungs, it can actually cause a lot of problems. And some of it you feel right away, like you mentioned, in your eyes, in your throat. But some of it you might not feel till later. So if you go out for a walk or a run, you might come home later and feel some tightness or feel a headache, feel some pain in your eyes. So it really is a serious health issue and something we need to be concerned about.
And the amount of time that we spend outdoors in this, when we have this kind of unhealthy air, that makes a difference too, in all likelihood, in terms of what kind of symptoms we might experience.
Absolutely. And that's, if there's one message today, it's just limit your exposure. Limit exposure as much as you can. Sometimes it's hard to limit it 100%. I know even in our house, a little bit of smoke is creeping in. We can sometimes smell it in parts of the house. But limit it as much as you possibly can. And that means staying indoors, windows shut, doors shut, air conditioning if you have it. And if you have to go outside for a reason, just limit that time outside.
You touched on it here briefly. Obviously, folks with breathing issues, you worry about them. What other groups are you most worried about here when you have this kind of unhealthy air?
It seems that folks who are younger, so young kids, and folks who are older tend to be more susceptible to having complications related to smoke exposure. And of course, asthma, heart disease, anything like that. But really, again, for all of us, we can have symptoms from mild to severe. So limiting our exposure is the key message.
How do I know, or how would someone know when, some of that tightness that they might feel in their chest, or some breathing difficulties or other symptoms they're experiencing? How do you know when it rises to the level that it does require a visit with a doctor or a medical professional?
Yeah, I would say you always want to err on the side of caution. So in these kinds of conditions, if you're having any issues, get in to see a doctor. Certainly if you're having trouble breathing, chest tightness, that's when you want to go see a medical professional. A little irritation in your eyes, a little in your throat, you can wait for the symptoms to go down. But again, if you're struggling, call your doctor. And I would also say as well, for those who are aware of conditions that they have, for example, people with asthma, you want to make sure you have a good supply of your medication on hand, and particularly the inhalers that can help you quite a bit if you are experiencing symptoms.
All right. Well, obviously, we're experiencing, the smoke and the unhealthy air here in Northern California right now. Obviously, in the midst of the coronavirus outbreak, and so, I'm curious how these two emergencies sort of overlay on top of one another here. I think one of the questions you probably are hearing, and I've heard too from people, is what is the most effective type of mask to be using? We've been using the cloth masks, the double layered cloth masks to protect us against the spread of COVID-19, but that's not quite as effective when it comes to filtering out the smoke. What's the best bet?
Yeah, that's correct. I go back to, in terms of the smoke, limit your exposure, stay inside. If you need to go outside, we should all be wearing masks for COVID. So if you're venturing out, you're going to have a cloth mask on for COVID. That won't protect you against the smoke. So that's why you have to continue to limit your exposure. There are masks available, the N95 masks that are available. The issue though with those is they really have to have a real tight seal. They have to be fitted perfectly, and they're really for one-time use. So they're not a real practical solution like the cloth masks are to protect us against COVID, right? We all have a bunch of them now. We can go in and out, we can wash them. So it's a little bit more complicated to use a mask to protect you from smoke. And that's why, the advice that I'm giving is stay inside, limit exposure.
Yeah, that's the key. Also, obviously, when you think about there being this kind of poor air quality and folks having difficulty breathing, throat irritation, that kind of thing, that often leads to coughing. I know personally, I found myself sneezing a lot more lately. I think as a result of the smoke. It's whenever I've stepped out on on the back porch or something. So it feels like that's concerning if you have folks who are feeling those kinds of irritations, maybe coughing, sneezing more in public, and we're trying to slow the spread of this virus.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a really difficult time right now. I think that after the recent surge, I think we were all adapting to social distancing, wearing masks. I think as a community, we were getting better at it. But of course, part of that was being outside. I mean, that was one of the things we could do with COVID is gather outside safely, wear our masks outside and be safe, in enjoying our California weather. And now that's really been taken from us. And so it's a really hard time, I think, for everybody. But we'll get through it, and hopefully this smoke, the conditions we're in now, hopefully, fingers crossed, won't last too long, and we can go back to the new normal that we gotten used to, which was, sheltering at home for COVID. But these are going to be really hard times, and I think we just need to stay at home, be safe, and protect ourselves against COVID at the same time. So we want to be careful about, of course, having someone come into our home, because that's not safe from a COVID perspective. So there's a lot to think about right now. And, we just have to do what we can for ourselves and our community.
Yeah, it's entirely overwhelming. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And you make such a great point where I think we all got used to the notion, well, okay, I think it's safe if I, take a trip out to the, to the park and keep my distance from everybody else. And now you try to go out to the park and the air is filled with smoke. So we're just kind of like,
so we adapt to that. We have to find a way to exercise safely in your home if you can. Call your friends, connect with people that way. I think we just have to be resourceful during these times. It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. But the key message is really, unfortunately, as we've heard, many times over the past few months, the key message here with the wildfire smoke is to try to stay indoors as much as you possibly can and limit your exposure. Yeah,
stay indoors, limit your exposure. The smoke particles can be dangerous, and we all have to remember that.
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking the time today, Dr. Malaika Stoll, Senior Medical Director with Blue Shield of California. Obviously, a couple of crises unfolding here in California all at the same time, and we're trying to deal with it. We appreciate the advice for folks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you. You as well.